Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Search Engine Journal webinar. Today, we will be joined by Anna Niles-Charity from CallRail and Lance Bachman from One SEO. They're going to be talking to us today about 3 powerful ways SEO user intent drives higher lead quality. Are you driving organic traffic to your site, but not seeing enough conversions? Your content might not be meeting the user's needs. Today, we're going to talk about understanding user intent and give you actionable tips to help you boost lead quality. My name is Heather Campbell, and I'll be moderating for you today. Anna, can you tell us a little bit about yourself before we get into some of the webinar housekeeping tips?
Yes, definitely. Thank you to everyone on the line watching this live and on demand. My name is Anna Charity. I am a senior product marketing manager here at CallRail. I work on all of our 4 different products. And for those of you that are not familiar with CallRail, we help you understand what marketing is working and what campaigns, keywords, sources are driving not only your calls and forms, but your high quality calls, form submissions, text, and chats. And we bring that all together in one clear customer journey for you. I am joined here, as Heather mentioned, with fabulous expert at One SEO. He is the founder and CEO, Lance.
Hello, thank you everyone. I appreciate it. Thank you for having me. And we love our partnership with CallRail, and you guys do great things for our clients. So I really appreciate it. I'm looking forward to this webinar, everyone. Thank you for joining us.
Right back at you. I have to say, I've said this counted an unlimited amount of times, but I've really enjoyed working with you, and we have some really exciting stories and pro tips for everyone on the line today. So housekeeping of what we're going to cover today. So as Heather mentioned, she'll kick us off with a poll. We'll have a couple of polls throughout the course of the webinar as well. We'll start with the basics. What is user intent and why is it important? Then the 3 ways that you can actually utilize user intent to optimize your SEO strategy. That includes using user intent to improve your customer experience and, of course, overall satisfaction ratings, leveraging that data to make informed decisions to improve your content, as well as increasing time that visitors are spending on your site and then upping those conversion rates from visitor to conversion. So we'll go ahead and sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm sorry, Anna. Before we get into the first poll, I am just going to give you just a super quick overview, housekeeping tips, just to make sure that all our listeners out there know that, hey, we're going to take questions and comments throughout the webinar. So make sure that you use the webinar's question box at the bottom of your screen. Also, we will have a Q&A at the end of the presentation, so you want to stick around for the end of that. We will do our best through the webinar to link to any resources or tools in the chat and on social, but if you have any questions, make sure that you use that question functionality that's at the bottom of your screen. Again, after the webinar, please stick around. We're going to do a short survey. It should take 5 minutes or less. This information helps us gauge what works and what topics you all as our listeners are interested in and how we can make SEJ webinars more useful for you. Lastly, this entire webinar is recorded and we'll make it available through a recap and on Search Engine Journal, but you'll get that recording today. So without any further delay, let's get to that first poll.
Awesome. Sorry, Heather, I got a little excited.
Hey, I understand. I get excited every time I do one of these. So first poll's in progress. Is tracking the results of your marketing important to you? I know it definitely is here at SEJ.
All right. And here are the options. Yes, and we do this effectively. Yes, but we're not currently tracking our campaigns outside of Google Analytics. Or no, we think what we're doing works already. So let's see, the poll results are starting to come in.
That looks like a high number so far, saying effectively.
I love it. I'm going to be reaching out to some of these folks, getting their pro tips as well. But awesome. Okay, so very cool. It looks like we have Where did that poll go? It looked like we had about 80% that said they were doing it effectively, and then about 20% that said they were doing it, but nothing outside of Google Analytics. And that's what we hear all the time with our customers. And then we had no one that said, no, we think what we're doing is working without the tracking. So that's awesome. Really, really good feedback to hear, and we'll continue to dive into that as we go. Awesome. So let's start with the basics. This might be, super old news for all of you all. You may be very familiar, but what is user intent? So what user intent is it's the main goal, the end goal a user has when they're typing a query into a search engine. So if you go into Google and you search landscaping in Atlanta, and someone else searches lawn care in Atlanta, those are different keywords that they're searching, but they have the same user intent, and it's really, really important to optimize accordingly. There are 4 different types of user intent: informational, commercial, navigational, and transactional. So informational could be, when is Easter, or something like that. Whereas navigational, of course, is going to be something that's more geographic and specific to navigation, as the name implies. So what is user intent? I already kind of gave that example, but another one is, let's say your AC cuts out in the middle of the night. It's summer in Atlanta, that's where I am, and you and your significant other are like, what do? We got to get this fixed. You're both on your phone searching. You may be searching 24/7 HVAC repair while your spouse is searching AC repair near me. Again, different keywords, but the same user intent, and you need to be able to accommodate accordingly. So why does the user intent actually matter? Simply put, being able to meet those customers' user or search intent is Google's #1 goal. We all know that we have to accommodate our marketing and our content to be to play really well with Google. So in order to really have a successful SEO and content marketing strategy, user intent, search intent really needs to be a crucial part of that strategy and not just an afterthought. So Lance is going to talk us all about through this. So we're going to get to the good stuff here. So kicking us off, #1 reason, #1 way is being able to use that user intent to improve the customer experience.
Correct.
So with that, I'll kick it over to Lance.
So we like to give live examples when we talk so people can see it. When people talk about user intent, there's multiple different ways. And really with Core Vitals update coming, this is going to be one of the 7 main factors that are coming into it, is that intent. And what people don't realize is when someone's going to, with the intent of something, if your page doesn't represent that intent, there's a good chance they're not going to stick. So when we talk about, it's great to rank for something, but if it's not converting, it's even worse. And sooner or later, you will start to lose those rankings. So here's an example where the challenge was for Center City Dentist, they're an emergency dentist, and they really were going from 2 seats to 20-some seats. And that's a big jump that Abraham and his team had that he wanted to do in a 2-year period of time. All around emergency, that was their really, really niche. It was their niche. So we said, okay, we had to cut through the fluff with all the other stuff and say, what's the most important answers people were looking to find when they were going to look for an emergency dentist? So we said, okay, we're messaging to a specific type of user, someone that has an issue, pain. So what's our next steps, right? Next slide. So we said, okay, we made all the pages around emergency dentists, letting them know we're 24/7, we'll take care of you, you don't have to be scared, come in. And our outcome was the #1 position for emergency dentists in Philadelphia. And we've literally not only about 10 times his leads, it just keeps going up more and more. And now he's also very well ranking for all the other similar keywords because of semantic rankings and talking, but also other keywords on other pages because of everything we're doing is based on the user intent. And now He's had literally about 20 some seats now in the last 3 years. He started 2 years. His plan was to do it in 2. It took him about 3 to get there. But I mean, this just goes to show you the power of digital marketing for someone that took over another practice right here with good user intent all around emergency dentists in Philadelphia.
That's outstanding. That's one of my favorite stories. Awesome. So second way, leveraging the data. So this is our media section. Hopefully if you're joining late, you're coming in for this. I love all the examples and the customer wins that Lance and his team have brought for their clients. Leveraging data, we have to be data powered, data informed to make those content updates to, just like Lance said, cut out the fluff and provide the answers that actually matter.
Yeah, so I mean, where a lot of people, and when we talk about, I just want to make sure content, and if you have a lot of content on your site already, most people think, oh, I got to keep generating new content, new content. It's actually quite the opposite. If you already have content that's already getting some headway and getting cached and actually being indexed the correct way, and you're in the top 30, 40, 50 positions, it's actually easier to scale your content and make it more effective and better and start pushing it that way. So what we like to do is say, hey, listen, we're data people, we're numbers people. You know, I always say people lie about numbers. Numbers don't lie. I mean, it's just is what it is. So in Google Webmaster Tool, well, it's called the Search Console now, but you know, Google Search Console tool, it's quite easy to look in there and see what queries, what pages they're laying there, what impressions you're getting, what clicks they're getting. And you can decide, does this page look good or not, answering those questions. If you want to go to the next slide, I'm sure we have an example here. You know, you can see fast what questions are using, provide a clear, concise answer. Take that data, look at Google Analytics, see what people are doing. Are they going on there with the intent? Look at all the information on their backgrounds also. And make sure, you know, obviously with Core Vitals, if you're looking at the data right now and you have a low slow time on the next slide, you're gonna be hurt. I mean, I know they pushed it back to August. We saw a lot of people already hurt over the last few years with some of their updates. This one, I do believe some people are saying it's not going to be that big. I think this is going to be catastrophic to people that don't have all their, and in Search Console, you can see what pages actually meet the criteria for Core Vitals or not. So you should be doing that. But right here, you know, we're a true believer in if the indication's there and the signals are there, you have pages already being cached and indexed and Google likes them and they're putting them in the top 20, top 10, top 30. Look at that content for the users you are getting. Is it a good experience or not? And scale it out. So that's a great way to use your own leverage your data and also not have to go build new content, come up with a new ideal. Here's a account we did it for 1-800-GAMBLER. They had a challenge. It was very big. How do we get the huge shift from, you know, people were going online gambling, right, to mobile online. So we said, okay, here's an opportunity for us. You know, they were struggling. Educate users on who we're trying to justify online gambling. Doing that, it's such a, and COVID hit, so this was even a bigger one for these people, and they're very good people. You know, they don't want them just going to casinos. A lot of gambling happens now online. So we laid out a ton of great stats, videos, infographics into an all-in-one encompassing blog. We wind up taking the position for relevant terms such as online gambling dangerous. We got ahead of the curve with a lot of questions and answers and how to get help. And you'll see the impact of this organization. Their traffic's just grown. Their brand awareness has grown. It's been an impact to 1-800-GAMBLER tremendously.
I love this. All righty. Now we're going to launch into our second poll. Do you know what the ROI of your multi-channel marketing is? No hate, no shade. We're not going to hate you if you don't know. But yes, 2 thumbs up. You feel super confident, sort of, a little maybe. No, it's difficult to really understand what's working. Again, no judgment zone. Awesome. Okay, pretty much what I would think. 18% said yes, 53%, so a majority said sort of, a little, maybe, and then 29% no, it's difficult to understand what's working. So we definitely have some tips between CallRail and then everything that Lance is covering today to hopefully make that a little more efficient and simplified for you and your clients.
Absolutely. The ROI is the biggest piece why we're does marketing. You really should have that down. That number should be a lot higher, understanding your ROI or having a very good ballpark of where that is.
Sorry, I'm getting click happy over here, Lance. I want to get to the good data. So here's another challenge. I'm excited. Go ahead and talk us through this one.
So Hutchinson Heating and Air, they've been a client of ours for 8 years now. They actually just got acquired by Horizon HVAC here also, but you know, they do cooling, they do plumbing, but their biggest challenge was a lot of companies try and rack for terms like HVAC problems, tend to lean heavily, like call us, like everyone's going after the same key problems. So what we said is, let's make the data and content and do educational things. So you'll take a look here, what we came up with and said. Next slide.
Oops, there it is.
So we said, okay, we're going to take blogs here and say, okay, we're going to educate people. And if you take a look at the blog we actually have there on the next slides, you'll see over 100,000 visitors. It ranks 1 for feature snippets, for multiple feature snippets, right? So go right there, you'll see right there. Go back to the next slide.
This one?
All of our blogs, yep. So we go after a lot of featured snippets here at One SEO, and we say, okay, we can educate people. So if someone just types in bad smell coming from vents, like you got a bad smell coming from vent, could be a dead animal, do I need a new system, is it whatever it may be. But if you take a look at the conversion rates for contacts us, it's 3.58 on that blog. So a simple conversion rate, 3,100 people contacted them over the time we've written this blog based on information on them. So what we do is we say for all of our clients, how can you go win some rich snippets that make sense and educate people on our blogs, on our information, and really make them long form, make them educational so they rank. There's no sense, I tell people this, you can write a piece of content a day, but if it has no effect, what's the sense? So really here, we took the user intent of, if you had a problem and something smelled in my vents, and I couldn't figure out what the smell was, what would I do? I might Google it. And we had the search volume, and we looked at the competition on that page, and then we started to write for it.
Genius. I love it. All right. And then you spoke to this. All right. So the third one, increase time on site and conversion rates.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think when people think about this, and it's the biggest challenge people have. Everyone wants to say my time on site's going down because just the speed of people. Well, that's not actually true. Your time on site should be going up if you have good quality content, good conversions, meaningful things, getting the people with the intent. So with core vitals, you know, I'm just going to let everyone know. Do you mind if I roll down real fast what the main 7-8 things are on core vitals?
Not at
So
all.
if you're not looking into this, mobile friendliness first, and people say, well, my site's mobile friendly. When they start stretching their phone out, that's what I'm like, no, it's not mobile friendly. You got problems, right? Number 2, and we could talk about that, you know, if you're going to redesign a site right now, you should be starting with the mobile experience first and then desktop, but that's a whole nother conversation. Safe browsing. Google wants to make sure that you are making sure your site's crawlable, it's not getting hit with malware, that you're safe, you're secure. It's more than just a HTTPS, and people don't realize that. So there are checkers out there to let you see how secure your site are. I would definitely do that. Obviously, HTTPS and encryptions is another big piece of it. You know, intrusiveness, you know, pop-ups. They don't want all these pop-ups. They don't want all these banners. That's going to hurt you, especially if you're just a typical site out there, service-based, legal, e-commerce. They don't want all these things. So load speed from the first ping. Most people don't understand that. If I just saw a study, I thought it would be actually higher. If your site takes longer than 4 to 5 seconds to load, 40% of your traffic will leave. I actually thought that number would be a lot higher in today's age. I know it was that a year or two ago, but with the pace of, yeah, sites are pinging back. so fast now. Why would anyone wait? But that's a whole, you use Google or developable tools to look at that and make sure, you know, interactivity. They want to make sure that your people are interacting on your site. What's going on? Are things happening on your site? Is the intent there? If that's not it, you're going to also be hit with core vitals. And stability, obviously, is another big piece of it. Is it visual? Your stability? Do you understand what's happening? Is there unexpected layout shifts throughout your sites that are occurring? You know, making sure it's consistent. And the nice part about this is Google pushed it back, I truly believe, because of not everyone is ready. I think they looked at their algorithm and said there's going to be a very big impact on a lot of people. And I don't think they wanted to do it. When Penguin came out, if you remember, it was like the sky was falling, you know, Panda, the sky was falling. I think they're trying not to have the sky is falling with some of their bigger PPC clients, right? So I think they're trying to say, hey, listen, make sure you pay attention to this or you're going to get hurt. Obviously, the more information, I always talk about this, the more free information you can give anyone on your site, free. I use the word free, as much free good information. It's going to increase the time on your site and it's going to increase your conversions. Does it stink doing all this and investing so much into your layout of your site and content and videos? Yes, but you're going to see big dividends on the back end when it's done.
I love that. And when you say free, you mean like even something gated, that's not free. You're still having to opt in. It's not easy to get to that information.
Yeah, I mean, so there's two ways, right? So there's free where you can just download things, which I do believe in that. But on every site, you do want to collect some information. You know, if you're going to put together a 10-page investment on a PDF on how to build Facebook ads, I would want someone's information for that. But if I'm giving you a quick top 3 hits on what best practices are, I'd probably make that for free real quick. So you got to pick and choose. But, you know, really when I talk about free information, it's really the content, have links to it. We link to other things outside our site, knowing that if we're giving you that, we don't do it a ton. We also make sure we give free videos, we're giving tutorials. So you really want to give as much free information as you can, because as long as you can prove that you know what you're talking about and you have a good reputation, it's really, and the one thing that is not mentioned in here, and I should really mention, the biggest thing we still don't see, less than 10% of all sites on the internet have their reviews. Exclude e-commerce. E-commerce does a very nice job. They've increased it, but the majority of sites, even service-based sites, legal sites, they just don't put reviews on them at all, which makes no sense to me.
That is bizarre.
Just start going around, navigating around the internet. You're like, why would you not have your Google reviews here? Why would you not have your Facebook reviews? And it's really, really.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's definitely valuable to be able to have that voice of the customer, like they're promoting it for you. Obviously, that social proof goes such a long way. So, yeah, that's very interesting. And then as we go to the next slide, sorry, you had kind of spoken to this as well, but if you could go a little more in depth on this one as well, Lance.
I mean, a lot of people organize their sites for bots and not for users. You really want to, and people say, well, how would I know? Well, number one, start with the person that answers the phone the most. What is the most common questions we get when someone calls here? Oh, these are, okay, so that's probably what the users on your site are have the same common questions. So, and what product is the most profitable for you? If it's SEO, start there, PPC. So you got to have an intermix of it. But what you don't want to do is say, hey, listen, SEO company is searched more than national SEO company, so I'm going for SEO company first over national SEO company, but the majority of my business is international SEO. Right? It doesn't make sense. So the user intent's not going to be there. You're probably not going to get the leads you want, and you're probably not going to get the customers you want. So you really want to look at it and say, let me build out my page for what the user intent is, and what I want that's going to convert for me. So when that lead does convert, I have a very high probability of closing that lead also, because you want to go through the whole entire funnel. Use subheadings correctly and create a nice flow of information. It will help outrank your competitors, and it will help your page perform stronger. You know, I don't like to use the word rankings because I like to use the word relevancy. The more relevant you make your site, just the more relevant traffic's going to come the better the leads are going to be.
Awesome. That's super helpful. Yeah, and interesting to kind of tie it all back. CallRail, a lot of our customers that are using our call recording and call transcription capabilities, that's how they come up with a lot of their content for landing pages, their keywords that they want to bid on. But beyond that, also talk tracks, frequently asked questions, so that they're actually addressing those concerns that might have previously been hidden in the calls. So
And
I
if
love
I jump in real fast and tell you something pretty cool we just did. So it
Yeah.
only costs, it's like 0.02 cents a minute to have your calls transcribed on CallRail. It's like, it's peanuts, right? So we talked to one of our clients into doing it, and he's like, I don't know. I'm like, listen, just trust me, pay. We literally have his top 40 questions for when somebody wants a repair just from the transcribes in 60 days. And we're now writing blogs around it and FAQs. It paid dividends. Like, it was just literally, we just keyword what we thought it would be. And when it came back, we have it now. And that's literally his next 3 months worth of content. And what do you see how this ranks for rich snippets? I mean, he's ecstatic, he's happy, and he solved problems in his own organization because the one question was asked 10 times, like in
That's
like a
amazing.
2 week period of time. So he went out and
It's
started educating, saying, listen, we have to educate. So, I mean, it's pretty impressive what you can do with the information if you want to look at it. Most people just not to.
I agree. And yeah, it can be kind of daunting. I can even speak from experience. You have this gold mine of valuable conversations, and it can be daunting of where to start. But aside from the automations that we help you with, if you just look at a couple of calls and skim through it, it's really easy. Or you can search those transcripts too. So you, like you said, if you know what the key term that you think a lot of folks are asking about, you can just search that. And it validates, what those FAQs are, and saves a lot of time for your support or your agents or whomever are handling those inquiries as well. Sweet. All right. So poll number 3. So we've talked about all of this. We've kind of dabbled in CallRail. Happy if you don't know about CallRail and want to learn more aside from what I spoke to at the beginning of the presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions at anna@callrail.com. But for now, answer the poll. If you're interested in a tool to help you prove the ROI of your multi-channel marketing campaigns, we'd love to help you. So if you'd like to hear more, let us know. If you're already tracking the sources that are driving those calls, form submissions, text messages, and chats, you may be good. You may already be a CallRail user as well, but let us know here in the poll. All right, good bit of you. Would love to hear more. So awesome. We will definitely, each of you that have selected you want to hear more, we will have someone follow up. Super efficient. We have a free trial, by the way, no credit card required. Super easy to get up and running. And we also have folks that are able to help you if you need assistance. All right. So Lance, I can't thank you enough. You have been so knowledgeable and again, such an SEO expert, and I appreciate your partnership. What questions does everyone have for Lance or myself? Feel free to put them in the chat box, or if you want to, again, ping me, ping Lance, I'm sure he would be open to speaking as well.
Absolutely. Feel free to reach out to me.
Great. So great presentation, guys. Filled with lots of information. So we definitely have some questions for you. So, we talked about, how to scale that content. So, but we didn't really talk about why. So do you have any advice for how to scale the content?
Yes. Is that directed to me or Anna?
Yes, either one who would like to take it.
Lance.
Okay. So how we scale content and how we say, okay, we look at a piece of content and we see it's getting traction. And if it comes back for a rich snippet, that's even amazing. But if it's on the second page, third page, and we're starting to get some traction, we say, okay, what's everyone on the first page doing now? and we start adding more to it. And the why is we look at the search volume for the rich snippet we're going, and can we build off of that off of similar keywords. So instead of rewriting a whole new piece of content and infographics and video or whatever it may be that you're putting into this piece of content, it's let's make it better and more scalable. What questions are people asking around that piece of content also, and start putting into one big beefy piece of content. Because once we know we get that rich snippet, like you saw for Hutchinson, it's going to pay dividends.
I was on mute talking to myself. It's fantastic. So we've got a great question from Danny. Danny asks, which specific SEO tips or areas we have to emphasize within order to get high quality organic leads in a very close market? For instance, IT decision makers or CTOs.
I mean, I could help with that question. So I own an IT company called Shock IT. So what I would tell you is this: give good information. The biggest thing, if it's an MSP, I'm hoping, Danny, it's an MSP because that's what I own also. I own one SEO, but I have a partnership with Shock IT that I own 50% of that. And, for MSPs, what you're trying to do is really get them in that time of need prior to being hacked or our backup goes down. When the backup goes down and their servers go down, whatever it may be, they're going to be looking for another provider. You want to make sure you're there with very good educational information. If you're local, which most MSPs are local, there are some nationals, but the majority of MSPs handle things in a 90 to 120 mile radius just because of drive time. If they have to go and they can sub out to other MSPs. But what I would do is make it all around local, relevant, good information, educating people. If they're not happy with their services, if they're not happy with response times, things like that, what separates you, what they should be looking for, and really what to check for. Because as you know, Danny, you have an MSP, the majority of people are not secure at all.
Great. Yeah. And with that competition out there, anything that you can do to differentiate yourself is only just going to help you, stay on top of that competition, right?
100%.
So another question we got from John. John's asking, can we use multiple keywords on one page that link to the same internal page, or does Google only give weight to the first linked keyword or phrase?
Lance, that's for you again.
To multiple links on the same page that go to the same page. But if your keyword stuffing, it does you no good. So if you're using SEO company and an SEO company is to go back to an SEO page in your site, I mean, it's just keyword stuffing at that point. It has to be good for the user intent and make sense. Why am I sending them back to that page? Is there valuable information on why I would? So I'm going to give you an example. We're talking about user intent today. If we're talking about navigational intent, a link that goes to a navigational intent page on your site would make sense. But if I just had it going back to the intent page, it wouldn't make sense, or SEO. So it really has to make sense for you. I hope that answers your question. But yes, they give multiple links on your site. Weight, not equal weight, depending on what user flow looks like.
Great. So another question that we have from Abhishek, and how to compete with AI, great question. Anything AI. So how do we compete with AI, which will affect traditional approach of marketing and SEO? Can you suggest your views with how to deal with this challenge?
Yes. So we're a Google Premier partner. We have access to every piece of AI they have. Facebook Premier partner, every piece of AI have they, for the most part, for any agency. AI is great. And I tell people this, if you've used tools like WordStream, if you use tools like Kencha, all these tools that help your conversion with your paid ads, they're great if they get off to the right start. If they get off to the wrong start, you just start spending and spending and spending and spending. So the human element still has to come in to, you're a marketer, you understand what your end user intent is, you understand what market you're trying to get into and what that customer looks like. AI can't do that to you until it starts getting a lot of conversions underneath it, and then it starts building from there. Once AI really gets going, it's your job as a marketer to really manage that AI and make it better and tweak it and adjust things. But you're never going to beat AI one-on-one once the race gets going. It's just not going to happen. It moves too much faster than human manpower.
Great, thanks for that, Lance. So Amanda has a great question. Amanda is asking, can you provide more info on the process that you use between Google Search Console and Google Analytics to research that searcher intent?
Yes. So in Google Search Console, they'll only give you high level information about the people that are coming. In Google Analytics, you can actually look at the profile of the people that are coming to that page. It will tell you age, male, female. It will tell you if they're interested in luxury items, if they're interested in finance, golf, all this information that then you can say, if I'm going to go and start writing, I might want to start incorporating some of these subjects in that writing to make it more stickier, more beefier, and know who you're trying to go after for what persona that you really want to do based on that user intent or what they like. But there's a big fundamental difference between using the data from Google Search Console at a very high level, very technical. A lot of it's good for you. I mean, it's basic technical, but it's more than most use. But also, when you get into Google Analytics, it gives you a lot of back-end user information that's coming to your site that most people never even look at.
Great. Yeah, a few more questions. So love to see that. So from Anastasios asking, how do we validate the relevancy of the content? Are there any specific metrics to track?
Well, I think the biggest thing is, number one, if it starts to rank and get relevant, that means Google's seeing it as its relevance. That's one measure. Number two, if people start coming to it and sticking. Number two, the biggest one is conversions. What's the end goal you want your content to do? Do you want to have video views? Do you want to have form fills? Do you want to have phone calls? Do you want to go to another page and fill something out? So it's really the goals you set up and say, is it doing that? If it's not doing that, then it's a why. And what I would do is I'd immediately put heat maps on, which I suggest anyone to do. You want to make sure the heat maps don't have a lag in your load time on these pages. But what I would do is I look at the heat map and say, what are people doing? And is it the wrong demographic coming to my site? And does the content not make site for the demographic I'm going after? So I've seen sometimes, yes, it's a great question. People did this great content, but they missed the mark on who they were going after, demographic wise.
Great, thank you. So from Saskia, we got, what is the best way to edit features snippets?
Edit the content or
Yeah, I think probably what they're getting to, I mean, let's just take it from the basics. Like if they're not even ranking for featured snippets, let's start there. How do we get ranking? If we are ranking and we need to make changes, we got to be careful about that though, right? Because then you risk losing that featured snippet.
Yeah, I mean, once you rank, I mean, once you rank for a feature snippet, it's a very fine line of what do I adjust. It's being very transparent. But to rank for a feature snippet, what we do is we look for a feature snippet that we look at the competitiveness of it. Can we get to that feature snippet? Is it realistic, right? If you think you're going to go rank for office furniture in today's environment, after the people have been on the first page of office furniture for these years, I mean, go listen to the song High Hopes, because I mean, it's a great song, but that's what you got, and it's probably not going to happen, right? So you got to have realistic goals. So when you look at that, so number two is, does it have a feature snippet or not? Because Google a lot of times will give you featured snippets for something that's asked a lot and there's not a feature snippet there. So it might be a very easy win for you. So with keyword research, you could take a look at it and say, these are the most common questions in my area, and they don't have feature snippets. Let me go after 1, 2 of these, 3 of these. I suggest people all the time go after 1 or 2 feature snippets at the most, because it's a lot of work, and see how it works and see if you're on the right path to get there. Don't go write 10 pieces of content and just think you're gonna get feature snippets. That's not going to happen, most likely.
Yeah. It's a very, very fine line right there, right?
Once you rank, once you're there, I mean, make sure you're looking at everything before you change it.
Right. So great question from Jabu is, how do we keep up with Google SEO tweaks, which is constantly changing? And I feel like this is a loaded question, right? Because it's difficult. So, Lance and Anna, I mean, even what would your suggestions be there?
And I'll let you go first and then I'll answer.
I'm so sorry. You broke out on my end. Can you repeat it one more time, Heather?
Yeah, absolutely. So how do we keep up with Google SEO tweaks, which is constantly changing?
Oh, like the Google Analytics 4 coming up and all of those different changes. I think it's just, from my opinion, it's companies and technology companies such as CallRail and others that just really need to get ahead of providing information ahead of time of what's going to happen, and then tweak that content accordingly. In terms of the CallRail product, we do that by helping surface keywords that are in your conversations that maybe you're not even knowing are important. So we'll automatically do that for you, and that can help you, pivot your content strategy. I'm not sure if that's exactly what you meant, but Lance will probably have a better follow-up.
Well, what I can tell people is this is, search engine journal is a great place to start to stay up on Google updates. Search engine land, not to say that out, but Google Webmaster, there's tons of sites out there. Bruce Clay, I mean, I can name 100 of them. Go to our blog. There's tons of people out there that want to see people be successful and help them. The one thing I'll say about this community is it's a transparent community. The only people that aren't transparent are Google and Facebook. I mean, I hate to say that, right? I mean, they say this and they do this, and you're like, whoa. The majority of people are going to be very realistic and tell you what's worked, what hasn't worked, what they've seen worked. And I think the nice part about having things like Search Engine Journal is they do a very good job at vetting the content that goes up there. And I mean, so it's a trusted source. Bruce Clay does a very good job at vetting the content that goes up there. So you look at the sites that do a good job at vetting the content, and I think you're going to have a lot of success because they want to see you be successful. They know what their end goal is. Their digital marketing magazines are pretty much just online, and they want to educate their users. So how we stay up, and also we set up alerts. We set up alerts for every keyword you think of for Google, Facebook, Instagram, any changes, Apple, Maps, you name it, analytics. These things all have their own forums also on Facebook. The communities there are incredible, as everybody knows. It's on those forums. Very helpful people. So it does take a lot of work, and that's why we say most in-house have a very hard time keeping up, because if it's just 1, 2, 3 people, you can't be an expert at paid SEO, email marketing, call tracking, UTM code, tag manager. It's just, there's too much. So I'm a true believer in bring the best experts in each one and make them work together. But Search Engine Journal would probably be, not just I'm on here, I'm a true believer Search Engine Journal is one of the best out there. And one of your competitors, I hate to say their name while I'm on your webinar, but there's a lot of good places to get good information.
Totally. I completely agree. And I don't think there's any harm there. I think both very, very credible. And yeah, SEJ is definitely a source that I go to as well. And I agree with you, Lance, like as much as we love Google and Facebook, we're always going to work with them. There is a little bit of that channel bias there. So I think finding that credible content is the way to go. And SEJ is definitely a place to do it. And I love, that's a really good call. Setting up like any Google alerts or any sort of alerts when a page changes for a certain site can be really good for staying in the loop with those consistent changes.
Heather, I did want to add one thing, if you don't mind. The person that asked about AI, and I'm going to add this to, and I should have, and I always lead with when people ask about AI. AI can't do this. They can't understand emotion, the intent of the end user, and AI never will do that. So even though AI is going to outrace you on some conversions once it gets tracking, you still gotta edit it, manipulate it, make it better, and make sure it understands what it's doing. So no different than servers have to be managed, everything else, AI has to be managed. It will never replace great digital marketers ever.
That's a great call. That's a great call. So, it's interesting. We had a podcast with Dr. Zhao Dr. Michelle Zhao a couple weeks ago, and she was talking about cognitive intelligence and how it can how they're looking for it to reshape chatbots. So anybody who's on this webinar, you know, pop over to our podcast page if you're interested to learn more about that, something that could be coming in the future. And, you know, who knows what that AI is going to turn into, right? So we do have some time to take some more questions. You know, and here's a great one for you, Anna. We'll try to share the love a little bit.
Hey, no
how is
offense. I'm just glad that I have, again, the expert man here with me to answer any and all SEO questions. Hit me.
so yeah, absolutely. So you know, how is call rail tracking, you know, how does call rail tracking track a form submission different than Google Analytics does?
It's a good question. So basically, since CallRail, as the name implies, owns that telephony piece, we are able to track all of the interactions that happen before and after that form is submitted. And that is done by a single line of code. It's a universal code snippet. It tracks calls, form submissions, texts, and chats. And the difference there is between Google Analytics is Google Analytics doesn't track down to a unique person. CallRail actually captures every single interaction you had online and offline. So maybe you visited a pricing page. 2 days later, you called. 4 days later, you submitted a form. 6 days later, you did a Google search. We're going to capture the UTM, keywords, source, campaign, ad data, whereas Google Analytics rather is only going to capture that high level goals. So basically, let's say that you did that customer journey that I just outlined. They might count you as 6 different leads, but you're just one person. So CallRail definitely eliminates that misattribution, and we're able to accurately provide return on investment for agencies and small businesses by tying all of those interactions together in one place.
Great. So Anastasios, I hope that answered your question, because I realized that there was a first part to that question, which was, so we'll kind of go back one step, you know, before the form submission, but, you know, Anna, can you share an example of implementation for CallRail, you know, for a small business like an accountant?
Yeah, definitely. And I assume implementation means just like setup and use case.
Yeah,
The
I think
way
we'll talk use case here.
Okay, yeah. Okay, cool. So yeah, for an accountant, many different options. So what's really cool about CallRail is because we utilize tracking numbers, you can tie each unique visitor to a specific number, or you can have different campaigns that are tied to each of those tracking numbers. So an example for an accountant would be maybe you want to have a consultation for an accounting tax review appointment. By having a tracking number and using what we call a pool of numbers, so that if I visit your accounting site, I have my own number tied to me. If Lance visits your accounting site, he sees another number, and those are all tied behind in the back end of CallRail. So because of that, we can see that someone had Googled tax accountant near me. You as the accountant had bid on those keywords. CallRail is able to tell you, this is the landing page that they found you on, or these are the keywords that the search keywords that they searched. This is what they did before, this is what they did after. And again, you could have a form on your website. You could use our form builder, or maybe you have a WordPress site or a Gravity form. That single line of code, again, is going to track all of those interactions. So it's really about giving your customers more ways to communicate with you, but also capturing that very, very crucial attribution data on the back end and being able to utilize that to optimize your campaigns. Conversely, maybe you're bidding on a keyword that's driving you really bad leads that aren't converting, or maybe they're just not you're bidding on different keywords, yeah, that no one's actually searching. It's about optimizing your budget.
Great. Yeah, thanks for that, Anna. So
Yeah.
these are always my favorite questions is, so while writing content, should companies focus on Google, or how do you make a balance with other search engines like Bing and Yandex to get higher rankings from each other? And Abhishek also asked that question and says, thanks for the view on AI too, Lance.
No problem. This is the thing, right? So Bing, I mean, this best place to hide a dead body, is one of my good friends says, the second page of Google. I actually disagree with him, say probably hide it on Bing. So and that's not being mean. It's just it's just the traffic volume, the pure volume. It depends. If you're trying to scale a small organization, Bing might be for you. If you need a lot of leads and you've got to fill the beast, it's going to be very hard to do that with Bing. So Yandex is China-based search. I think it's China, correct? Yandex is China, if I remember correctly, right? So that's going to be a totally different search engine. It's going to be a totally different type of writing, where I think China actually took Google out, if I'm correct, last time I saw, or they were weeding them back. I have to look into that. We don't have a lot of, it's in Russia, Yandex is actually. So we don't do anything in Russia, full transparency. So that's why I thought it was, I forget what China's one is. We do everything here for Google. Full transparency, One SEO is pretty much North America. We have some international clients, but the majority of our clients are here in North America, and Google is what we focus on. We write every piece of content. But Yandex is the main one in Russian.
Yeah. So, Core Web Vitals is coming up. So let's just, and I know you gave, a good rundown of it, but, Lance, what do you expect, and what should companies expect from the Core Web Vitals update, and really how can they prepare?
Well, it's easy to prepare. So what I expect is this: no different than Panda and Penguin, we're not going to be able to keep up with the lead volume. I do. There's not an agency out there that's going to be able to keep up with the lead volume. You just couldn't during those 2 times. You're not going to be then, because the shift's going to happen. And just think about that. Even if it's only a 3 to 5% shift, it's drastic when you think about that, right? It's easy. In Search Console, you can actually see, they're letting you know the signals in Search Console, what pages pass Core Vitals and what don't. And they're telling you why. So in Search Console, you can see a lot of that information already. So that's really, if your load time is 6-7 seconds, you got a problem. So it's real simple. The only thing that you really can't, Core Vitals, they can understand the spamming and keyword stuffing. The only thing they really can't understand is, where I tell people the intent really 100%, yet it's not there. It's still going to be based on links, what people are doing. But, it's really simple. If you go in Search Console, Heather, and look at it, it's going to give you a lot of these information, especially in, anyone that wants it, we have a white paper that gives you everything on Core Vitals, a checklist that you want to check off. Feel free to email me, and I'll make sure you have it right away.
Great.
It's real simple to go check.
Yeah. So I think we got time. We'll take, I think we get time for one more question. So one of the questions, let's see, trying to find it. So does Google count stemming keywords to avoid keyword stuffing?
When you say stemming, does that mean running them along the side, or tree line, waterfall? And so you just give me the exact way you're asking that question, so I give you the right answer.
So that came from Tiffany. Tiffany, you still with us? You think you can clarify what you're looking for there? While we're waiting, let's see if we can take one more. Tiffany's saying yes, same cookies. Okay. Sorry.
Right. Suspense. I feel like I'm watching a horror movie.
Right.
I'm waiting for this question.
construction or constructional, staying or staying. Okay, stay or staying. So if we're like, if you know, if we're adding to the keyword. So if it's like cookie versus cookies, or construction versus constructional, stay versus staying. So do, you know,
Now, Google, if it's semantic talking now, the way people speak, Google understands the intent, no different. I'm going to make it very simple for people. HVAC company near me, HVAC company, HVAC service repair. Google knows your location, what your intent is, what you expect. If I'm looking, say, nice hotel to stay in overnight or nice hotels to stay in, they understand, you know, they understand the intent of that end user. So I wouldn't put, you don't have to keyword stuff. Those days are done. If you write good content and you have it built out correctly and you write about the subject matter very well, you're gonna be fine. Now, would I use multiple keywords on a page? 150% for that.
great. Great. So we've gotten to most of the questions today, but you know, as usual, we get so many, we usually can't finish them all. So Lance, Anna, you know, thank you so much for your time today and being here with us. We will, you know, please everybody on the webinar, and you know, those who didn't make it, watching it on demand, we will get you answers to all of the questions that we couldn't get to. And, you know, again, stick around for just a short survey. It'll take no more than 5 minutes. Help us improve our webinars overall and make sure you guys get the content that you're looking for. With that, we bid you farewell. Lance, Anna, one more big thank you. It was great, great being here with you guys today.
Thank you.
Yes.
We appreciate it. I had a great time. Thank you, everyone, for joining. I really appreciate it. Anna, thank you so much. Heather, thank you.
Thank you, Lance. You've been great. Talk to you soon. Thanks, y'all.
Bye, y'all. Bye-bye.